Welcome to How to Quilt the Lanterns of Hope panel from the Quilting Rockstar panel collection. My name is HollyAnne Knight of String and Story, and it's my job to guide you to quilt with confidence. Now, I have to admit, one of my very favorite ways to quilt Lanterns of Hope is to pick a different motif for each color and just go to town on it. And my other favorite way to quilt Lanterns of Hope is to ignore the seam lines completely and create a whole nother design. But neither of those is terribly practical if you are a very beginning quilter, and I want you to feel confident quilting your very own Lanterns of Hope. So let's work together with the meander, switchbacks, and swirls to create a semi-custom but still introductory friendly design. You can learn more about how to quilt these motifs by taking my Intro to Free Motion Quilting Mini Course, all right? Now, in just a moment, I'm actually gonna be quilting this on a long arm, so I'm gonna start at the top and think about this a little bit how I might be working on it on the long arm frame. If you are working on your domestic machine to quilt your Lanterns of Hope, I encourage you to check out my Quilting a Semi-Custom Quilting Plan on your domestic machine video, because I'm using the same quilting plan, but just breaking it down a little bit differently for working on a home machine, all right? Now I'm just going along here, filling in my meander. You'll notice I'm doing my meander over several colors, because I need to cover a lot of territory if we're going to keep this simple, all right? And I would continue doing this meander over all of my light pink and, not my light pink, my lightest pink. There we go, take two. Lightest pink and turquoise sections. Leaving these slightly darker pink areas unquilted. We're going to include those in our switchbacks this time around. Now, the real magic of this quilting plan, in my opinion, is when we get all the motifs up against each other. So, after I make my way around and fill in a bit of this for us, my next task would be to do switchbacks. Now imagine if I'm working on a long arm, I'm going to be working in rows. If you're working on your domestic, you can work on this in whatever way makes the most sense to your brain, all right? For these switchbacks, I'm going to do this in these redder areas, in the yellow areas, and in the darkest pinks. And personally, I tend to turn corners with switchbacks. By going all the way into the corner and then coming back out. Now, as I'm drawing, I am picking up my Apple pencil anytime I want to move around rather than traveling in a ditch. But on a quilt like Lanterns of Hope, if you're needing to travel from section to section, I'll show you on this next bit. Go into the corner, come down with these switchbacks. I would travel along the seam, even though this is a printed panel, all right? And for these larger squares, I really like doing our switchbacks on point like this. I just think it adds a fun little change from the switchbacks that are following the shape of the other sections. Now that I've got some switchbacks filled in down in these lower sections, let's talk about our final motif. Our final motif is going to be to add some swirls inside the green areas at the bottom of this panel, all right? We will have had a very wandering motif with our meander, and then a more linear motif with how those switchbacks work. And finally, as we make our way down here, we're going to have our curviest design yet with some nice big swirls. Now, as you're filling this in, you'll definitely be using your ditches in order to migrate around. Now here, as I'm drawing with all one color, if this were all one thread color, instead of traveling in the ditch back down to the green, I could actually use this next section of red to move around and come in here and add some switchbacks and connect myself over to this next section of green. That's what's really fun about drawing a quilting plan ahead of time, is not only do you get to start to see how the textures of your different motifs are going to come together, but you also get to start to see how you might want to move around when you're stitching to avoid having to break thread or stitch in the ditch too much. Now, too much is a very nebulous kind of phrase, but basically the less you have to do either of those things, the faster you're going to be able to quilt. All right, and you can see here as these areas are coming together, we can even fill in a few more switchbacks here. How all of these motifs are starting to come together to create really beautiful contrasts of texture. And that's what's going to make this quilting plan a fun and yet beginner-friendly one on our Lanterns of Hope panel. So maybe we should stitch it out now. All right, we have this Lanterns of Hope panel all loaded on the long arm and we're ready to stitch. Remember, we are using just 3 motifs, the meander, switchbacks, and swirls. Now in the drawing that we did together a few minutes ago, we worked from top to bottom so I could really show you the textures of how all of these motifs are going to combine. That even though they're simple introductory level motifs, and even though we're covering large areas of the quilt with each, we're going to get some really cool textures working through as we go along. On the long arm though, because I have loaded it with the top at my bar and it's hanging down, we're actually going to work back and forth in kind of a standard long arm pattern. So let's talk through how that will go, all right? We're going to start here in the top left and we're going to be doing a meander all across this lightest pink and the turquoise areas. As we approach this hot pink and medium pink diamond, we're going to do some switchbacks and keep on going all the way to our orange. Begin with more switchbacks through the orange and the yellow, some meander, some more switchbacks, meander again, and then down around to add our first swirl. So this, as you can see, allows you to go from left to right on the long arm and then back right to left, but it also changes up the pattern of how you're moving just enough that when this quilt comes off, you're not going to see the hard lines of where the quilt advanced. They'll kind of merge together for a cohesive effect. Okay, let's do it. Now, I'm using this nice high contrast thread so we can stitch along together. Feel free to match your thread to your fabric. Now notice, even as I'm working from left to right, I'm still doing some back and forth action, and again, that helps the whole pattern move forward together instead of being in clumps or stripes. All right, I'm going to advance the quilt so I can keep going with these switchbacks. Do notice though, I've chosen to freehand these switchbacks on the diagonal. That is the trickiest way to do switchbacks, and mine aren't super even right now. If you have a ruler handy, that will make them look more even. Now at this point, even though we have not evenly worked all the way down this section, I would call this one pass completed. Let's go around the corner and we'll start on the next pass together. right, we've come across with our meander and our switchbacks. I've used some ditches to travel. We finally get to add our first swirl. From here, you'll continue working the quilt back and forth. I recommend that with each pass, as you move your quilt forward, take a moment to plan how you're going to get from one side of the quilt to the other, making sure you catch all the pieces and move seamlessly between your motifs. This is an excellent practice exercise in transitioning between motifs and also taking some time to think through how you want to get from point A to point B. As always, don't forget to check out my blog for more tips and tricks and more quilting plans for Lanterns of Hope.